Fly with you, fairies, it's Snowflake here. So this video will be about something I've been wondering recently, like how do fairy queens work? Like in real life, kings and queens follow an order of successions. So if the king dies, then his son, following the royal bloodline, would take the crown. However, although never fairies can have siblings, they can't have children as they're born from laughs. So how did Clarion obtain the throne? I recently did a poll asking fellow Fairy ABC users how Queen Clarion got her standout wings, and almost everyone that voted said that her wings transformed when she became queen. This result honestly surprised me because before I started this poll, I was leaning more to the other option, which was that all fairies used to be born with fancier wings. It may be because of Fairy ABC's fancier wings that I've thought about this, but the theory that the majority agrees with makes sense. After all, her wings look like they're made of pixie dust, and they're the same color as the crown, and it would make sense that the superior figure would have the superior wings. But how is it decided who becomes the fairy queen? It has been mentioned in some of the Disney Fairies books that there are multiple queens before Clarion that all wore the same moonstone crown. I've narrowed down my theory to 4 possible options, which I'll discuss in this video. My first and least favorite theory is that fairy queens can only rule for a certain number of years, just like the United States presidents. This theory doesn't really require any succession lines, like maybe there will be a succession line because the president has one, but it doesn't require any royal succession lines. But there are problems with this theory. One being, how would the queens be chosen? Does the former queen choose it? Is it based on age, like Never Fairy age? Is she chosen by the Neverland citizens? Also, if Rhea's term were to end, it would feel strange that the oldest and wisest fairy would suddenly not become queen after almost 1,000 years. Yes, she was the queen for hundreds of years according to the Pixie Bake Off short, which I'm guessing took place in the late 1800s or early 1900s. So yeah, you could argue that she just turned into pixie dust or something when her term is over, but dying after giving away the crown is just too gruesome for fairies, and I like my other theories better. My second least favorite theory is that if Queen Clarion were to die of disbelief or something, the oldest fairy would automatically become queen. It would make sense as Rhea is already the oldest fairy, and the oldest fairy may have a lot of wisdom from their long life of Pixie Hollow or something, but I don't know, it just feels like they'd want someone capable to be the queen, not just based on how long you've been in Pixie Hollow. That doesn't really add to capability of being the queen. And here are my other 2 theories which I like better. Now here are my top 2 theories, and I'm going to start with the one I like the least. So my second favorite theory is that if Queen Clarion were to pass away, then there would be some sort of tournament of competition on who becomes queen. This could be on wisdom, power, stuff like that. This would make sure the queen is actually capable. This is a really good theory and I don't have really many complaints about it, but the other one is what I like better. My personal theory is that there's actually a succession line, just like in real life, although it wouldn't be based around birth. Maybe the line of succession would include the ministers or even the queen's helper fairies. So if their jobs are focused on working on royal matters, they should know what it takes to be the queen. So that's why I think becomes queen. Maybe Queen Clarion was once a minister or something. But how exactly is the order of succession determined? In England, it's based off of gender, age, generation, and more importantly, who's actually related to the royal bloodline, like who's actually related to like Queen Elizabeth II and stuff. So like for example, Princess Kate and Meghan Markle aren't in the line of succession because they aren't exactly related to royalty. They just be the consort of the king. So, but still, fairies don't really have bloodlines. And like I said before, I don't think this succession line is based off of any bloodline because, well, those things don't exist in a Never Fairy community. I believe the succession is more like the presidential succession in America. Though I told you that my presidential term theory was false, the succession line could be similar. So if Rhea were to pass away, maybe one of the ministers would take her place, but which minister? I feel like it would be one of the female ministers because in the Disney Fairies books, it was mentioned that there are multiple queens, but there is no mention of kings. Do you think Spearman could be lower on the succession line? And if the Minister of Winter were to become queen, who would be the Minister of Winter? I believe that the role would be chosen by the former minister herself, because the Minister of Winter must be a warm fairy, as I proved in a previous video about why the Minister of Winter is a warm fairy, but she must know a lot about winter, and this can go for the other roles that have been taken up as well. There would be a succession line in the Winter Woods too, as the Winter Woods has a separate lord. Do you think Sparrowmen like Lord Mallory would be higher on the succession land, like most of Pixie Hollow would have fairies higher and the Winter Woods would have Sparrowmen higher? That's just something that I have been guessing. I don't know, I think Sparrowmen are higher in the Winter Woods, because I believe that there should be equality for fairies and Sparrowmen, but real life doesn't work like that, but yeah, I believe that the Winter Woods has a separate succession line. So basically what this theory is trying to say is that there would be a succession, like basically a new queen would take place if the queen were to pass away, but there would likely be a succession line similar to the US presidential line based on jobs in the royal community thing. And I'm guessing that the queen's wings would probably transform. But what are your thoughts about this theory? I'd love to hear about it in the comments.